right, so here we are, a day after our big winter storm we had yesterday when it's supposed to be springtime. You can see it was blowing so hard the night before that there's a little crack in the door here. It piled a whole bunch of snow inside the arena. So hopefully we're done with that weather now. So anyway, just, a few changes I think from last time. I think I still had him in the Western saddle. Now he's just, this is an adjustable Baroque saddle, so it's a little bit like an English saddle, Western saddle, a little bit of a mix kind of. You can adjust it with a wrench in the gullet here, so I like it's a nice saddle to ride a lot of young horses in. It's got big soft panels on it, kind of spreads the weight over their back quite nicely, I find, and it's just a nice transition saddle for some of them from the Western saddle to the English saddle, and sometimes it's the only saddle I ride them in. So yeah, I just tacked him up in the barn a couple minutes ago and brought him in. He had yesterday off because of the weather. Kind of spent the bulk of the day just kind of fighting with the weather, to be honest with you. So we're just sort of getting back into it. The tacking up it's all good. I think we had talked in the beginning, like in the early part of the training, where you go to put the halter on and he was lift his head way up, and we were working on just kind of getting him to bring his head down and put the halter on and take the halter off, and that's going really quite well. I mean, there's no problems there at all. But what it's kind of transitioned into now is when you go to put the bridle on, he puts his head down here, and if you just hold the bit up by his mouth, he'll reach out and take the bit himself. So that's kind of a nice progressive step, and just an indicator that he's really kind of comfortable with the work and not really trying to hide from everything. And so it's nice. Also, when I go to catch him, whatever time of the day, other than, lots of times they're quite easy to catch at feeding time, of course, but for him, if you go to catch him now, he actually, wherever he's standing in his turnout pen, granted it's not a huge turnout pen, but wherever he's standing in it, he'll come and meet me at the gate, so that's nice too. It's not like he's ever been hard to catch, but, sometimes they'll spend a little more time just kind of waiting for you to walk and get them, and once they start to come and meet you and kind of start to catch you, that's nice too. It's just another sign that they're kind of understanding things, and that they're okay with getting out of bed and going to work kind of thing. And so we've just been working quite a bit, like we talked about before, on the forward part, on getting him to just carry himself better and have a little bit more ability to be self-propelled and regulate himself, and just have the feeling that he's interested in and able to go forward, and that we don't have to kind of carry him around all the time. And so this is a pretty nice walk to start off with. It's not like before where we kind of had to poke and nudge and encourage him to move all the time. It's just now he's a little bit at the kind of walk where we can just kind of ride it and start to develop it a little bit, work on a little bit of flexions, and just again work on the openness in the front end of his body, and just riding the head position at the moment wherever feels to be more of a benefit to him. That can change from day to day, week to week. But here, if he starts to get a walk that's energetic and through the body, and then he wants to soften the neck and push the head out, push the head longer, push the neck longer, and then drop the head down, and he feels like he still stays relatively balanced in the body, then that's a nice, that's kind of what we've been working towards all along. And that's becoming more and more, feels more that way, that he's capable, especially at the walk. At the trot, it kind of comes and goes. Sometimes at the canter, you got to pick your moments, but there may be days when you first start out on him, particularly if he's had a couple of days off, like over the weekend or whatever, we need to work just a little bit more on the forward and not really focus much at all on where his head position is, and just kind of let him set where he feels it needs to be for the time being. And then you can start to work in some flexions and some, some lateral flexions and then some longitudinal flexions, get him to bring the nose in a little bit. And that he still stays energetic as he's doing that and feels like he's stepping through his body and going forward through the hand and out to front, almost like he's kind of pushing the energy from his hind legs through his body, out his forehead, and just kind of drawing to wherever it is that you're pointing them at. So again, some days there will be days when you want to ride them a little bit more elevated and feel like you're working the shoulders a little bit higher. And there'll be those moments then when you can start to lower the neck and just see how it feels. Some days you'll be able to lower the neck a little further than others. It just all depends on the horse that you're sitting on. Good boy. And I'm just trying to, even in the walk here, just really moving the hips in the seat and just encouraging him to loosen up through his body from the movement of your body. So swinging a little left, a little right, and just trying to increase that movement in his body, in his back, because of the movement that he feels from you. Yeah, good boy. Then if he feels like he wants to offer up a little bit more forward, that's nice as well. Good boy. And then sometimes in the trot, it'll feel what kind of trot you can start off with. Sometimes you start with a little bit of a smaller trot, but with some activity, and just start to work that loose. It doesn't have to be a huge trot, but he's a little bit up in the front here, and we just try to encourage that carrying. Be a little lighter in your seat so that we're not pushing down on his back too much. Good boy. And just trying to encourage that swing through our seat, through our lower back. Good boy. Good. That's it. He's got his ears back on me and just kind of checking in and waiting and seeing what we're gonna maybe do next. Just trying to ride the shoulders around the corners here. Not really worrying about that's it. Not trying to pull him around from the inside rein, but rather trying to ride the outside shoulder off the wall. There we go. So it might be a little bit of sometimes even a feeling of some counterflexion towards the wall, like here, and then bring the left shoulder off the wall, and then straight again. Good boy. It's easy for them to get magnetically drawn to the wall or to the fence or to the track or whatever you're riding on. So rather than pull them this way and kind of spill the energy over that outside shoulder, if I can just create a little flexion to the left here, good boy, and then ride the left shoulder off the wall, support it a little bit with the right leg so the right shoulder doesn't just collapse. There we go. I'll turn my own body a little bit in this direction, bring the shoulder over, shoulders, good, and forward, good boy, and the shoulder again, that's it. And just having that feeling that we keep the forward movement going when we turn the shoulders around, good boy, good. And there he offered to soften a little bit, so we'll let him just kind of carry his head where he wants to. Not trying to make him round, but just riding, there we go. Riding the body so that he gets round. Yep, good. Now I'm gonna ride the left shoulder a little bit, up and over. Yeah, good. So just working on those little adjustments of straightness wherever I feel that he might be a little crooked. Good. Good boy. Little right flexion. Bring the right shoulder off the track. Good. Then lead the right shoulder back to the wall. Increase the activity of my seat. Good. That's it. Remind him to stay a little bit more focused on where his feet are. Yeah, good. There we go. A little more activity, right shoulder. Right shoulder straight and forward. There we go, good. And forward again. So just bring the hands a little bit up this way and encourage a little opening in the throat latch and a little elevation in the front. So he feels he can get the shoulders up a little bit. Ride that through my seat, the activity of my seat, just keeping him going forward. So I don't feel like I'm pushing him from the leg all the time. Seat, 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 seat. Now slow the seat. Bring the trot back and a walk. Good. Just let him have a nice forward walk and a little bit of a breather, but the walk stays with some energy. So like we talked about before, that if we want to try to ride him in a way that makes him feel like he wants to go forward, and not ride him in a way like he feels like we're kicking and prodding and poking and smacking and making him go forward all the time. Because that's a good way for him to start to withdraw into himself and shut off. Good for you. And we don't want that. That would be fairly easy to do. And then you get to spend the next 10 years carrying your horse around. So if we can ride him in a way where we bring a little bit of energy into the work, bring the intensity up a little bit, and then give him a break so that we're not just rewarding hard work with more hard work, but we're just letting him start to understand how much easier it is to move through the body, how much better it feels, how much more looseness and freedom and suppleness that he gains from it, which is difficult for him because that's not necessarily his natural way. He has a little shorter, tighter way of going, and he kind of starts to get a little tighter and a little tighter and a little tighter, and you could ride him to the point where he starts to get lame or feel lame just because of the blockages in his body. So we really need to kind of be aware of where those tightnesses feel in his body, and then bring our awareness to that in our own body and start to let go in those areas ourselves, maybe increase the mobility in those areas of our body, and then let that transfer to him so that he starts to feel what we're doing and respond to what we're doing, instead of us jabbing a set of spurs into his ribs or beating him with a stick, or both at some point. So it's a little bit, good boy, it's a little bit more difficult riding on our part at the moment. Difficult in the sense that we can't just sit up here and be a passenger. We have to start to really put in the energy and the effort on our part so that he starts to do the same. And then down the road, he'll start to put in a little bit more, and we can do, I wouldn't say we can do less, because riding is an active game. It's not like the rider is sitting up here doing nothing at all, but we can start to share the workload a little bit more. He starts to offer more. And even in this walk, compared to the last video, I don't really feel, for the most part, there's days when you have to kind of remind him, but for the most part, he's kind of offering this walk here, and I'm just trying to keep the suppleness in my body to not get in his way of the walk. Same with the trot and the same with the canter. But you can see his head is bobbing. He's got the rhythm going through his body. His body is starting to sway and loosen up, and his head is moving in rhythm with the walk. He pushes the nose out a little bit. He wants to kind of drop the pole down from time to time. And he just feels nice throughout the whole picture that I'm feeling underneath him. He feels quite nice compared to a month ago, and especially compared to 2 months ago. So it's just something that we have to help him with, and not ride him too much with our goal in mind right now. Good for you. Here, I'm just going to kind of walk with my hips a little bit, left and right. See if I can just increase the walk a little bit. I'm going to give my hands up here and just swing through my body a little more. See if I can make the walk a little bigger. So really start to walk here. Doesn't matter if you look a little bit silly, it's not a show. So really give him this feeling through my body that I'm just really kind of walking big myself. My legs are swinging back and forth. So if I increase the energy in my legs, let's say right leg, left leg, swing it slightly forward like I'm walking, as opposed to booting him in the sides with both of my legs at the same time, I can just kind of encourage that swing a little bit more, like here, 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 here. Good boy. And then again, down the road, you're not doing this. This isn't what we're going to be doing for the next 2 years. Our goal is to ride nice and soft and contained so it doesn't look like we're doing a whole lot. But if we start riding him with that picture in our mind right now, and our body's not moving much, we'll encourage his body to not do much as well. Come, I'm going to swing a little more. Yeah, good. Good for you. I'm going to try a little more trot again. And just trying to pick up that feeling of trotting in my seat. Again, not making it go from the leg. Doesn't matter where his head position is right now, it just matters how the rest of it feels here. I can influence a little bit, ask him to go forward. Ask the left shoulder to come over a little bit. Get my seat a little busier here. So I bring the trot back, but try through my seat to keep the trot active. So I'm going to go forward here, seat. Then I'm going to bring it back, keep the seat active, but not ride as long as strides in the saddle. I'm actually focusing on bringing him up underneath of me a little bit. So trying to draw him up, up, up. So everything about me comes up, up. Trying to keep that activity so the trot doesn't just get stuck in the sand. It's easy to make him go slow, but slow is not collected, and collected is not slow. So up, up. So my seat gets a little springier. Up, 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 up. Now I'm going to just ride a little longer stride in the saddle. Still having the feeling that I'm carrying myself up here. My shoulders are up and back. If I were him, swing and slow. Now we're focused on the springing up part. So if you think of collection and his joints start to fold and bend a little bit more, and he spends a little bit more time coming off the floor, a little bouncier. We have to bring that same feeling into our body. Close the joints a little bit, not with tension, but just closing, drawing them up. And walk. Good. And of course, bearing in mind it's forward and it's a little quick at times. So we're working on establishing that balance when we bring him back with some activity, and then we go forward, and then we bring him back, and then we go forward. And that just all slowly develops into actually collecting him at the when it's time, when the moment is there, when he's strong enough. And trying not to pull him into collection with the hand. So when he's a little bit back in the trot, now this is relative, of course, he's not collected, and he's not extended like you would wish to develop down the road. But these little moments when he comes back in the trot, and we have that activity going, you want to give the rein to make sure, just a little test for the rider, that we're not holding him from the front end. And then when we go forward, that we can let the body a little longer, and ride it more from the seat, from this control panel here, not from the control panel in your right and your left hand. And then when he becomes more and more active and responsive and understanding to the seat aids, and you don't have to have the feeling that you're constantly pushing him in front of the leg, and you have no more leg strength to try to make him go, then when you need a little bit more, if you need a little more activity from the hind leg, or if you need a little bit more lift from the shoulder, you can always bring your leg to that position, push that button, and you have a response there from the leg. Water's running down the wall there. Ice is starting to, it's getting warm enough now that the ice is starting to drip off the roof. Good boy. That's it. And so there's lots of moments where there's a lot of walking, but the walking doesn't have to mean that there's nothing happening. The walking is important for him now to really develop this understanding of how to move, and then you can start to work in different parts as you go. A little right flexion, help that right shoulder a bit, right hind. Yeah, that's it. And working on the jaw flexions, or the flexions up here. Right now, something that we can start building on more, but that is also something that will become easier and easier and have more quality to it the more that his body is positioned in a better way. So it's not really the focus. The working in a little bit of flexion laterally, a little bit of flexion longitudinally from the bit is good, but we don't want to focus on the part that we can see here. You know, if we see that, oh, his head's a little too high, pull it down, get his head down. That's not where we need the focus to be. We need the focus to be from here back and down. So trot in my seat, good. Good boy. There goes the water down the wall again. Same with the canter here. I want to focus a little bit more on bringing him up, 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 up. And forward and back a little bit, up. Good for you. So a little more difficult in the canter, you know, which is normal, to go forward and come back and maintain it. It takes a little more strength and a little more balance when the speed is up. But again, just working on him organizing his body when we ask for the canter, being able to understand what to do, balance himself with us up here, and then go into the canter. And go into the canter where he doesn't feel like he's diving and stabbing his front end into the ground, but where he feels like he's lifting the front end up and coming up off the ground. So in those moments, again, just with the hand up here a little bit, encouraging him to be up and open. And with the lower leg, just very, very gently coming under his barrel, very gently. And in the stride, when he feels he's coming up off the floor, just asking him to draw up a little bit more. Creating a little wee bit of space between us and the saddle, or having the feeling that you're creating space between you and the saddle, to give him the sense that he can bring his back up and fill that space. There we go. So these things that you're pulling down a little too hard here, so I'm just going to ask him to bring the front end up and not pull on my hand. So it's a balance right now of teaching him to go to the hand, to reach for the contact, but then not to lean on it and use that as a fifth leg to balance on, so that he starts to teach us to carry him around. So when he gets too heavy and starts to pull down, just bringing that activity again from behind to try to push the head up, in combination sometimes with bringing the shoulders up. So it's really just an ongoing evaluation of where you feel there might be a blockage or there might be something that you have to address. If it's the left shoulder, for instance, that he's pushing out, then I can sit into the left shoulder like this. I will exaggerate it a little bit like this and bring the left shoulder over. If I feel it's the right shoulder, I can pick up on it a little bit, create some bend in my body, and then maybe sit to the left to bring the right shoulder up. If I feel it's a hind leg, good. If I feel it's the right hind, I can then bring a little activity to my right leg, my right seat bone, and ask that right hind to become a little bit quicker. Same with the left hind. Good. That's it. And just get that kind of that quickness without really having to go into strong tactics myself. If I just become a little quicker and a little bit more, make my timing a little better, I don't have to try to ride them strong. Because again, riding most horses strong just kind of tends to shut them down, but the ones that tend to be a little shut off and backed off anyway, you're pretty well guaranteed that's how you can shut them down. So I'm just gonna work on a little activity here. Good for you. See if we can take that. There we go. Good. You see if I can keep the trot or the canter a little bit. Yeah, nice. Good. Good. That's it. I feel like he's quite nicely active behind, coming up. Yes. So I can sit towards the left hind a little bit. Good. That's it. Move forward. Sit on the left hind. Yeah, the reason in this direction I'm talking a little bit more about the left hind, so sitting down towards the outside hind, is because sometimes going to the right lead canter, he needs to push off. This is the strike off leg, the left hind, to take this canter lead. Sometimes he likes to step out a little wide with the left hind and push behind himself a little bit more and kind of drive some weight diagonally down onto the right front. So if I sit a little bit more on the left hind and increase the activity of that hind leg while I go into the canter or start to get ready for the canter, then he feels like he lifts into it a little bit better and doesn't just invert and then pick up the incorrect lead. I mean, that's not a bad thing, it's just a thing, that's all. It's just where he's at. And then in the canter, if we get to where, if I kind of neglect this left hind and let it swing out, then he tends to fall on the right front leg and start to get really crooked in the canter. And then he gets a little bit out of balance. He feels really stiff on the right rein. So rather than try to fix it with my right hand, if I can tuck that left hind underneath and get him a little straighter in the body, then the left hind tends to lift the right front up a little bit. And I don't have to try to strong arm this right front when, that's not necessarily the problem area. The problem is the left hind. Next week it could be the opposite way. Things just tend to float around, particularly with young horses. What's a difficult area one day is, just over the passage of a week or two can sometimes all of a sudden you recognize that that's not really the sticky spot anymore, but it's now in a different part of the body. Which is also good if you're if you're moving around to different areas and working on different things, as opposed to working on the same thing over and over again, then you're making progress. Good. I'm just going to increase a little bit of bend here, just kind of challenge him a little bit more. So I'm going to really start to swing my seat a little bit in this direction to really increase the movement in my body, and just feel like I can kind of swing a little bit more. That's it. And encourage him to just go a little bit further than what's really comfortable. That's it. Good for you. And then walk out of that. And it's just stuff to play with just as you go along. You know, just kind of pushing into that comfort zone a little bit further. Really swing. Yeah, good. And when the work gets harder, then the tendency to want to just revert back to the old habits of kind of getting slower, and that's good. And that's normal too. So if we don't push into these moments, you know, it wasn't that long ago where this activity was really just to keep the walk going. So now that we're past that point and we're working on some different stuff, we got to go back to putting in a little bit more effort. That's good. A little bit more work ourselves. So I'm just really trying to feel like I can contract the left side of my body, encourage him to do the same without having to use too much muscle, and trying to swing him over a little bit to the right. Yeah, good. That's right. And then in, you know, a few weeks or a month, when this becomes easy, then we'll work on the next thing. Good. Good boy. Same here. Okay. Encourage that right hind. That's it. Another reason why I like to ride with a whip, because then you can just bring a little bit of attention, their attention to that certain part of their body without having to really try to get strong with your legs or whatever. Because the more that you, I mean, there's times obviously when you got to get a little stronger, but if you're kind of constantly, come, nice, good for you. If you're just constantly riding around with clamped legs to keep them moving, you start to create some tension in your own body, which just invariably transfers to their body. And that's right. Now I'm going to really turn to the right here with my upper body. Keep my left seat bone down towards his left hind. Ah, very nice. And just kind of feel him fold around my seat. Turn my shoulders a little more, a little more. Come on, come on. Very good. Nice. So we start to challenge him a little bit when we can. Short little moments of higher intensity work, and then back off. And little bit by little bit, the things that are difficult today become easy, and then we work on some more difficult stuff. And we just slowly start to level up in our work. Yeah, good. Super. And if your hands need to get a little bit, you don't want to be strong and pulling and hurtful with the hand, but if you need to make a couple of quick adjustments, like soften, come back a little bit, soften. You know, you're not jerking on his teeth or ripping his lips apart. You're just kind of really making these quick adjustments and giving. Yeah. So he just feels that that little bit of a correction, but we're not holding it and pulling it and trying to make it happen or keep it there once we get it. With him being bent around the left side of my body here. That's right, good. Those moments are going to come when they get stuck. Super. So in that moment there when he like stalled out and he still felt, he didn't get really braced and stiff in my hand or in his body, and I could create that movement in the seat like that. Sometimes you're going to have to create a lot of movement in order to get a little bit of something. But the more that he starts to feel that and understand that when he gets a little stuck and he gets kind of tight, even if he's starting to look at something and maybe spook or he's not too sure, and you create that swing in your body, the more he starts to feel that and understand that you don't lock up in your body when he gets tight, he'll start to respond in kind to you letting go. So if you're getting in a show situation and you're in a class and he starts to get a little bit balled up and you can't really go into training mode, and he has this feeling of the movement of your seat and your lower back starts to let go and he starts to let go because of that, you can diffuse those situations there. If you're on a trail ride or if you're in the arena and he starts to spook at a corner, instead of kind of clamping up and pushing him through that moment, you start to swing a little bit and let go, and he feels that coming from you and he's like, well, okay, I guess it's not a big thing then, we'll just carry on. So in the moments when he got like stuck there and I have to really start to move, again, we're not at a show, it doesn't matter how it looks. What matters is how it feels to him and his understanding of what to do in those situations. So we just kind of keep building on that, and those big movements, again, when you feel like you're trying to swing a swing set down the road, that just becomes a little movement of your seat from side to side, and he's like, oh yeah, I got this, I know what to do. Yeah. So I think I'll leave it there today. I feel like he did quite good after having a day off yesterday, and I kind of like, where his headspace is at overall, and he feels nice. He gives those kind of little spooks there where the water's running down the eaves trough pipe there, and he just come right back to being workable and manageable, and just overall feels nice. I think he's on the right track, and we're starting to build some momentum. So, all right, thank you. I'll talk to you soon.